Hey ladies, it's Sarah. Before you enjoy this episode of the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast, we just wanted to share that this episode was recorded in studio just a few days before social distancing was put into place. We realize that our excitement of being together in the same room is pretty out of sync with what we're all experiencing right now with the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we hope you can join in our excitement of being together, and we pray that we will soon be able to rejoice in each other's presence as sisters in Christ. And with that, please enjoy this episode.
It is still surreal that I'm sitting here right now.
You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I'm Bri.
And I'm Rachel.
And Rachel's in studio!
Yes! There go the levels again, Sarah.
That definitely maxed everything out. However, it's worth it because you're here.
Yes.
We're so excited that all the gang's back together.
Once every 6 months.
Yes, every 6
It's
months.
our semi-annual reunion.
Yes. I mean, we did dress up and take pictures.
Yeah,
so
we did.
It kind of was a reunion. And we're eating food. I'm pretty sure this counts as a reunion now.
It's a straight-up party.
Speaking of food, this is an Erin's recipe card episode, and it has been a long time coming. We haven't done one of these in a while.
It has been a
However,
while.
this food looks so good. So, what did you bring in studio for us today?
Friends, today I have for us pineapple dressing.
Oh, it looks amazing.
This is also from the Church of All Nations Hong Kong cookbook.
Yes.
Aha.
My favorite.
That was my family's default church cookbook as we grew up. This recipe, however, is not one that I remember from my childhood. My mom, in fact, when I was telling her about it, she's like, "That's in the cookbook?" And I'm like, "Yes, it is." Somehow it did not get on the altar branches of the altar branch of the Lidke family tree's radar, but it is on my grandmother, and two of my aunts' radar. And so that's not even the right word, but anyway, it's their tradition. When I moved to St. Louis back in 2004, I started celebrating on Easter Sunday after church. The whole family would get together in the late afternoon and we would have an Easter supper. And pineapple dressing is the traditional side that we would have every single year. It goes amazingly with ham. And so today, for you to have the full effect, I have brought in ham. Because there's nothing like pineapple with ham for one thing, but also the nice savory sweet combo. Ladies, this is essentially, Rachel, you guessed it when you looked at it. You're like, this looks like bread pudding. This is indeed essentially bread pudding, but in true Lutheran fashion, we have taken what is clearly a dessert and declared it to be a side.
And it's got fruit, so it's a healthy.
Yeah. It's at least a serving of fruit.
Let me tell you,
so
there is
funny.
so much butter in this dish. When I was baking it, there was literally a pool of butter that was surrounding it. That has all been reabsorbed into it at this point. So, no fear.
I'm so thrilled about this because bread pudding always sounds disgusting, but it is literally one of my favorite desserts of all time. And you just look at it on that dessert table and you're like, well, that's what's coming back to the table with me, obviously. And so now you've devised a way for me to serve it as a healthy side dish.
Wait, there's no raisins in this.
Very
There's
excited.
no raisins
Oh,
in
good.
this dish.
Okay.
Bread pudding always
It
gets
is
me with
a
those.
very simple dish, in fact. Well, here, why don't we taste it first, and then I'll run it through the recipe. I'll run you through give you the rundown of it.
It's quite a wonderful color, too. It's like this nice golden, it's like bread pudding,
Yeah, that's
but
the pineapple.
well, yes, I
the
know that.
ingredients of the pineapple.
My question is, Why did you serve this with ham and not a scoop of like vanilla ice cream?
Because it's a side, Brienne. It's not a dessert.
Remember, we're pretending it's real food.
Yeah, but it would totally work if you wanted to shift this into full-on dessert mode. Warm it up, serve it warm with a scoop of vanilla ice cream. Oh, that would be magnificent.
This is like a sort of mashup between bread pudding and pineapple upside down
That's
cake.
exactly
Which is another favorite.
Pineapple
it's
upside down cake.
Gooey and golden. I just love this.
Right.
Pineapple and ham together reminds me of pineapple pizza, but
gross.
I know that's a whole different episode. I love pineapple pizza.
Pineapple really in any form.
Get out.
It's one of my favorite fruits.
It's true. It's delicious.
So this recipe is super simple. There are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ingredients. Okay, a half a cup of butter. That's one stick of butter. The original recipe is 1 cup of sugar. Now, my aunt, when she sent me this, she gave me the family revision. She has through the years revised it. So she instructed me to reduce that to 3/4 cup of sugar. I did that. She also normally substitutes part of her sugar for some other fake sugar. It's not really fake. It's some natural healthy. No, it's not stevia. Maybe it's coconut sugar. Anyway, it's some other sugar. I don't believe in that.
No,
I don't believe in that.
Sugar.
Sorry, Aunt Rachel.
I don't believe in paying for that, so I'm with you there. I'm the cheap gourmet.
The original recipe said 1 cup of sugar. I made it with 3/4 cup of sugar. 4 eggs, 1 cup of crushed pineapple, undrained, and 5 to 6 slices of bread, cubed. Okay? Now, I chose to use whole wheat bread because, again, that's how I roll. So it was whole wheat bread. And I did not use 6 because my slices I felt were kind of fluffy. So I thought 5 was enough. So I went with the 5 slices of bread. So to make it, you cream the butter, sugar, and eggs together. I managed to, I don't know, at some point maybe my mixer ran out. So I started by trying to use my food processor, but I think I got sugar somehow, and where the connection is supposed to be, it wouldn't operate. So I persevered, though. I said, how can I make this? I remembered my immersion blender. That worked just fine. So I used my immersion blender. Cream the butter, sugar, and eggs together. Stir in the pineapple. Fold in the bread cubes. And then bake uncovered in a 1.5 quart casserole at 350 degrees for 1 hour. That's it.
That's pretty simple.
It ends up being nice and toasty on top. There's some good crusty bits, especially the day of. You guys are enjoying it the day after. It's probably a little softer.
Still good.
It's still good, though, yeah. Word of advice, never, ever substitute margarine.
Oh.
So don't do that.
That's just good
just
life
live your
advice.
I know. That's a life lesson, but we all need to hear that lesson sometimes. So perhaps there's some young Lutheran ladies out there listening to this. Take note, young Lutheran ladies. Never substitute butter for margarine, or the reverse. Anyway, stay away from margarine. That's the lesson that you should take away from this.
Always use butter.
That's it. Super simple and yet delicious.
And it works really well. It does pair really well with the ham.
Yeah,
I like that you
ham.
used the whole wheat bread because it gives it this sort of nuttiness that adds something special and keeps it from being too goopy.
Kind of tastes like banana nut bread. A little bit.
I'm wondering.
There's a
The
nuttiness.
tropical flavor of the pineapple is maybe it's tricking your brain into thinking banana.
My mind is a trickster like that.
Do you think it would work? And I love the way that your aunt reduces the sugar from like 1 cup to like 3/4 a cup, which is not a huge reduction, but reminds me of how my mom used to make Kool-Aid. She'd be like, how little sugar can I add to this? And make it still work?
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, has anyone ever tried it with mixing in a little brown sugar in with the white sugar?
Ooh, that's a good question.
'Cause
I
I
feel
try
that would be an
that.
acceptable
That would
experiment.
that would give it a little bit of a
I do
different
not know
flavor.
if anyone has tried it. That's a worthy experiment, I think.
I wonder if honey would work too. If the extra liquid would make it weird.
That would be the question. You might need the sixth slice of bread if you choose to go the honey route.
Yeah, there are lots of people who like honey instead of regular sugar.
And I did use the pineapple in its own juice, not in heavy syrup. Mm-hmm. So that's another element.
I applaud.
Yeah. Yes.
Yep. Aunt Rachel did also have a note that she did try one time to really make it more healthy, and that got big thumbs down reviews. So she went back to the revised approach. She does, though, make it, and she's able to substitute with almond bread. So she and my uncle tend to avoid gluten, and so that is you can do it. So you don't have to necessarily use just traditional good old fashioned wheat bread. Basically, if you have a bread that you like to use, try it out in this.
And use a little challah.
Yeah, you can do that. You can do that.
I love that this is a festival side. Like I love that you know we're talking about ways to make it healthier, but the truth is if you don't make it healthier, it works. This is like for Easter dinner.
This is exactly
a time when otherwise you'd be thinking, boiled potatoes, how does that sound?
Right.
But this is a way to dress up that table, put it next to the ham.
Yeah.
And
Easter's coming, ladies. If you're looking for an exciting dish that still has that old-fashioned feel,
I'm making this.
The pineapple dressing.
Do you think this could be modified to work? Because a lot of churches have Easter brunches, and I feel like it wouldn't take too much to make this brunch appropriate. But I'm wondering if you have
it
ideas
has potential. If I were going to try and turn this into a brunch casserole, one, you'd have to increase it dramatically because obviously this is making like 4 to 5 servings. Let's not do the math on the tablespoons of butter per serving on that. But you could definitely do that. I think you might want to actually add some milk to the sort of batter that you make up. If you were going to make it more as like a brunch bread pudding bake. I personally, you could certainly serve it with ham. That would work fine for an Easter brunch. I think you could also serve it with crumbled up bacon. So I think you could actually crumble up bacon and mix it right into the I guess the dressing casserole that you'd be making and have it right there already built in.
Bacon makes everything better, and it goes
very
so
appropriate
well
for
with
breakfast.
Pineapple.
Yes, yes,
you
it does.
you talk about the ham and pineapple pizza. Bacon and pineapple is the best pizza ever made, and you guys can fight me about that.
I will fight all of you.
Well, I was gonna say maybe you could even chop the ham up and put the ham in it too.
I think that also would have a fine possibility. There's lots of options,
or like nuts,
for that.
even like a macadamia nut, or walnut,
right?
But you don't want to skip the pineapple, and you don't want to skip the butter.
That's right.
The butter makes this.
Those are what really make it. I do sort of wonder, the recipe did not call for the bread to be stale or toasted. But I almost wonder how it might be, maybe even like do half, especially if you're making a larger scale, maybe do half the bread that you toast it first, and then half the bread soft, especially if you were going to, I don't know, I just feel like that might be a worthy experiment.
I think you're right on that, because especially if you made a smallish pan. But if this was a large pan, that goopiness would be a problem that could be easily offset by having your bread start out a little drier than straight out of the bag.
And there's enough butter in this that it's not going to end up dry. So don't worry that you might make it too dry. The butter will totally take that problem away.
And if you do worry, add more butter.
Yeah.
There we go.
You can never have too much.
Yes. Never. Yes. No, it would totally. I think you're onto something, Rachel. It would work very well as a Easter breakfast casserole option for maybe a church breakfast that you were serving. I think it would scale up very nicely.
I'm wondering what other kinds of things it would pair with for later in the year. I don't know, other like on, like, is this like a steak dressing too? Could you put it on a big In full disclosure, I have not eaten it because I'm allergic to pretty much everything in it except the eggs. So I have not eaten this. So I'm asking. I have not tasted it. Like mac and cheese and pineapple dressing. I don't know.
I feel like those are both sort of rich, starchy sides. To have two of those in the same meal might be a bit much.
But I think anything in the porcine family.
Yes.
You could do this with like a pork loin.
Pork loin.
I think that this would go. I mean, the pineapple and pork just go.
They really go
together.
together.
What
about poultry? Like turkey? Chicken? Fish?
I think it passably could do.
I mean, seriously, this is so tasty. You could put it on a table next to like a tofu loaf, and I would probably think it was a good pairing. So I don't think you can really go wrong with this. I mean, if I were going to do it with turkey or chicken, I might, experiment with some other kind of fruit as well, because I feel like those meats go better with, I don't know, cranberries. But there's a lot of room for creativity here. It's such a simple recipe.
Yeah.
You can play with it.
I mean, I also sort of wonder, could you actually swap out, say, you would have to probably puree it a bit, but maybe peaches instead.
Yeah, I was going to ask about other fruits.
So maybe that sort of variation could be very intriguing as well.
And as long as you call it dressing, it counts as real food and not dessert.
Exactly.
Kicking stuff under the table. Any final thoughts, ladies, about this?
I'm going to need this whole bowl right now.
We're going to it's going to
Like,
devolve into chewing noises.
Out of all of these, I'm just like, pass me another.
All right, Erin. So this is the pineapple dressing. This goes well with ham or bacon or any of the pork varieties of meat. It's a great idea for an Easter brunch, Easter breakfast, Easter dinner.
Friday afternoon snack.
Cookouts.
Yeah. All right. And we'll post the recipe with the show notes with this podcast. Ladies, if you want to share your own versions of it, go ahead and share those with us. Share your own creations of this. And you can find all of our podcast episodes at kfuo.org/Lutheran Ladies Lounge. Join us in the Facebook group so you can share. You can find the recipe there, and you can share your own recipes as well. You're listening to the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast. I'm Sarah.
I'm Erin.
I wish I was full of pineapple dressing.
You know what? So do I.
Views and opinions expressed on the Lutheran Ladies Lounge podcast may not represent the official position of the management or ownership of KFUO Radio, the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod. The Lutheran Ladies Lounge is produced by KFUO Radio and available at kfuo.org or wherever you get your podcasts. Join our community on Facebook in the Lutheran Ladies Lounge.